Hey guys, Sinister here. It's been so long since you heard from me, probably close to about 2 years now. Pretty much the entire COVID pandemic I've been offline. Not due to health reasons, nothing like that, just it's been a pretty miserable time for a lot of people, particularly where I live, which is in Australia, which has had a very extreme set of lockdowns. And I've just been focusing on other things, which I will get into later on in this video. The purpose of this video is I really just wanted to create a channel update. I wanted to let everyone know what's been happening in my life for the last 2 years and what this channel is going to look like for the next foreseeable future, I guess. And the reason I decided to do this video was not because I have a lot of followers or subscribers or anything like that, simply because the channel is going to take a different direction, and it is really important that people understand that that is the reality about what's going to happen. Okay, so I really just want to take this opportunity to go through various other parts of what's going on. So the video will have a rough guide as to what it looks like here. So what will it actually look like in 2022? We'll have a talk about that towards the end, and I'll summarize it. What happened to MMOs? So traditionally I've been known for playing MMOs. This channel really came alive when I was playing Guild Wars 2 a few years ago. So what's my stance in that? What's been going on there? And then I'll link that in then to the next point, which are real life objectives and why that's affecting what's going on in my gaming and what this channel will look like going forward. Because linking those two together, you can kind of see where probably this is going, but having those two together really helps paint a picture for where I see myself in the foreseeable future and what this channel will look like in the future as well, and finish off as to what that content will be. So that's what I'm going to finish it off, hopefully round it out, and you guys get a nice clean video going forward. Alrighty, so let's talk about the big one, which is obviously my history in MMOs, what has happened over the last 2 years, and am I still playing MMOs? The very short story of this is I am not playing any MMOs anymore. Obviously this channel has traditionally been associated with WoW content and Guild Wars 2 content, but I can confirm I am not playing either of those two games. I pretty much stopped playing Guild Wars 2 because the Shadowlands expansion came out in World of Warcraft. For me, a lot of the people I was playing Guild Wars 2 with actually went and played that expansion, so a lot of the friends and people I was playing with regularly just basically stopped playing Guild Wars 2 regularly and moved to World of Warcraft. And so you'll know kind of from the original side of my channel, World of Warcraft was a very big part of my life for many years when I lived in Europe. And so I picked it up again, and I figured I'd give it another go while I was in Australia, and lo and behold, got very quickly addicted and pretty much gave up Guild Wars 2 completely. I did pick up a bit of Final Fantasy 14 as well. That was really due to downtime in World of Warcraft. So I picked up, boredom, something new, and being a huge Final Fantasy fan all my life as well, I did play that. So I will kind of go into a little bit more detail on kind of how this all links in. But yeah, Guild Wars 2, that content is gone. I still get a lot of DMs in my videos, a lot of comments. I do try to reply to them all, but I do not produce content for that game anymore. So yeah, moving on to WoW, World of Warcraft. The long story short here is I didn't do very well in WoW. When I first came back, I played it super casually as expected, but I very quickly fell into old habits, wanted to be a better player, get more involved in high-end content, all that good stuff. And at the start it worked fine. In the casual guild I was obviously performing pretty well. I then moved into a much higher ranked guild, actually one of the top 20 I believe in Oceanic, so basically in Australia, New Zealand. I moved into a top 20 guild, and they had just finished the tier, so they pretty much carried me through the rest of the tier. I think I had like 3 bosses left in the tier to do, so they carried me through that, and then I moved on to their roster formally then for the most recent tier, which was the Sylvanas tier. I can't remember what it was called, Sanctum of Domination I think. Look, I'm not going to lie, World of Warcraft has changed a lot in the last 5 years. It's become a far more complex and far more difficult game than it was when I played back in Wrath of the Lich King. TBC, it's a very different game, and I'm not the same person I was then, and I really struggled. I was probably the weakest, if not one of the weakest players in the roster by quite a long margin. I struggled on a number of mechanics I'd never seen before, and once you begin failing once, especially as a relatively new player in a team, it really mentally affects you. And I couldn't recover, and unfortunately, we finished that tier, and due to various factors, the guild disbanded. I moved to another guild, and then that guild, after a couple of weeks of clearing the content, realized there was going to be a huge content drought from Blizzard, and that guild disbanded. By this point, all the negative news around Blizzard, Activision, World of Warcraft in general had pretty much been the public knowledge. For me personally, I had some kind of longer distance problems with the Blizzard team in particular. We all know Warcraft 3 Reforged was a huge disaster, and I mean a huge disaster. But on top of that, 700 staff were let go in my homeland of Ireland many years ago, and it's pretty much been since then that the service and the standards that Blizzard actually offer to their player base and their clients has seriously dropped. Like, I know it's a public company, I know they have shareholders to adhere to, and it is still an extremely profitable company, but the brand Blizzard became popular and successful by the content they produced and the service they provided to their clients and their users, and that has just fallen off a cliff recently. So you combine that with the struggles I had with my rating tiers and the performance I was having, and then you combine that with just the negative imagery around the game, I pretty much dropped it, and I haven't been back. I think they announced the recent patch recently. I don't even know who the end boss is. I don't know if there's a new zone, what the new abilities and stuff are. So yeah, definitely a pretty significant change, and I haven't looked at it at all. And so then to tie that all in together is Final Fantasy 14. I did pick it up. I was playing it casually. I did have lots of videos recorded. I got to the max level as a white mage. Traditionally, I'm a healer. That's kind of the role that came to me, but I haven't really stuck with it for very long. The first reason for that is that obviously the servers were based in Japan. I know that has now changed, and at a point in the future, I will probably play Final Fantasy 14 casually on the Oceanic servers, but I'm just not there now. I'm just doing other things, a lot of stuff going on in my real life as well, and so I will probably pick it up at a later point in time, and there will be some sporadic content of that built in, because it's a much more casual game than World of Warcraft. And I love Square Enix, I love Final Fantasy, I love that whole series. I've got Final Fantasy 10, 8, 7 and 9 all on my computer via Steam that I play pretty regularly. So yeah, definitely going to put some content out there, but it's going to be very limited, very casual, nothing high end, so don't expect anything like that. Which brings us on to why the context of MMOs and the consumption of time and what they do to your personal life. It's really important that I got that part out of the way so that we can kind of talk about the next section of this video, which is why it's actually relevant, and particularly why it affects what I want to do in my real life outside of gaming as well. So to start this section off, it's probably worth acknowledging that we've all been through a pretty shit 2 years, right? I'm no exception to this. Everyone has been through a shit 2 years, but I haven't had the best of luck over the 2 years, and so there's just a couple of things I just want to outline that I have achieved, or that I want to achieve, or that have happened over the last 2 years that have really meant that my time spent investing in huge grinds and huge high-level content are just not there anymore. So the first one is a very common one that I've seen across the world, my friends, my family, my partner, everything, is the effects that COVID have had on people. I'm traditionally been a very fit person, and I've traditionally hovered around 75 to 77 kilos. I'm about 5'10", I think, maybe a little bit less. So yeah, pretty low body fat percentage, quite healthy, quite fit. Prior to going back to the gym and working out and stuff, I was sitting at about 85, 86. I felt very bad, very uncomfortable, all that good stuff. So to just see that effect on my body and what it was doing to my mental health was just not good. And so I took time away from gaming. I got back into the gym and I did other things. We'll understand a little bit why I kind of lost that motivation as well a little bit later on in this video. But yeah, really important to understand that the time commitments, spending 45 minutes in the gym or in the pool or going for a run or whatever it might be, is far more valuable to me now than spending 45 minutes running laps around a zone in World of Warcraft trying to find a rare item or kill a world boss that spawns every hour or something like that. It's just, for me, it's just not worth it. It's the mental health thing is a huge thing for me, and of course feeling good about myself physically, and losing weight is obviously very good as well. In work as well, I've been promoted, kinda. I just changed roles really, but that the job that I'm in now is very raw. I spend a lot of time making sales phone calls, things like that, and it's very time consuming, and it requires a lot of fucking brain power is what it requires. It requires a lot of brain power. I need to be very capable of thinking on my feet, and again, my hours are pretty unpredictable because I work in sales now. I pretty much need to be on call 24/7, and I know that that's going to rub people up the wrong way in the whole work ethic and things like that, and COVID and everything else. I love my job. I'm very glad I have my job. I'm very lucky to have my job. I am paid very well. I'm very happy with all the conditions of my work, so I wouldn't change it for a thing. But I also prioritize my work over video games, and that's just the reality of how it is, and that's it for me. And so those changed working conditions and new responsibilities mean that I have to focus on them, and I want to focus on them. And so it just takes away again from something like, if I've got a regular raid on a Wednesday at 7 p.m. and I get a call at 6:30, I'm going to pick up that call and I'm going to make sure I see it through to the end, which is something I wasn't doing previously, and it was really important. So next we move on to the big one, which is I've always, for a very, very long time, dreamed of doing a triathlon. Being Irish, my swimming isn't the strongest, and so I've actually hired a swim coach to help me progress with that and to become a better triathlete. Like, I can do the running, I've always been good at running, and the cycling won't be an issue for me, but with my background, I'm not a very strong swimmer, so I have actually hired a swimming coach, which takes up at least probably 3 to 4 hours of my week now. That's with coaching and with additional work just to get my swimming into a place where I can be quite competitive in a swimming pool. Ultimately, it'll be open water triathlon here in Australia, but yeah, I've started training for that, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm becoming a much better swimmer already. I've only started a couple of weeks ago, and I feel so much more confident and so much more powerful in the water, which is really, really great. And so that, again, it's just time that I commit to that, and that I'm loving, and that I just don't commit to long grindy MMO sessions that like I used to. And then finally, and this is probably the biggest life-changing event for me that happened, and like this was when I picked up WoW again. So this isn't something new, it's not something new to people, but it's not something I've shared really online before. But about 2 years ago, I broke my hip in a really, really freak accident. I broke my hip in 5 places. I was training for the Sydney Marathon at the time. I was just arrived in Australia. But yeah, you see the x-ray there. That's not my x-ray, but my hip was pretty much like that. Luckily enough, I was young enough that I didn't have to get a hip replacement. I had a natural recovery, but what natural recovery meant was I was pretty much bedbound for 6 weeks, and then I spent another 6 months nearly on crutches and doing post-recovery rehab. So that's been a pretty long journey for me. And then you throw in COVID, you throw in work responsibilities and everything else, and the weight just piles on. And so while training for a triathlon, I'm also going to do the once in a lifetime experience of the Sydney Marathon. Not many people in the world get to say they get to run around the Opera House and run over the Harbour Bridge in their lives, and I plan on doing 42 kilometers all around Sydney, and I hopefully get to do it this year. So the training is coming along okay, and so that's it. Finally, that's the biggest reason for changing my lifestyle, and just becoming a better and fitter person in my life. And so that kind of rounds out that section and kind of why I've made all these changes to my life, and why I've moved away from MMOs and kind of what my focus will be. And so you can probably kind of gather that my focus will be much more spent on single player kinda games, and kind of what is possible over shorter periods of time, or games that have a much slower learning curve, or a much smoother gradient of learning curve that aren't steep. Like, you know, games like RTSs like Age of Empires or High Level WoW are super steep learning curves. I'm moving away from those games, and I'm not going to be doing anything competitively going forward, or certainly don't have any plans to do it over the next 12 months. Anyway, all right, so let's talk business. What is the main game going to look like going forward? This is it, Arma 3. What an absolute beast of a game. There are no words to describe this game other than it is a full military simulator sandbox experience, and it's huge. The depth to this game is unbelievable, and I know I started off by saying steep learning curves, blah blah blah. This game can be as shallow or as deep or as difficult or as hard or as easy or as simplistic as you want to make it, and that is what I love about this game. So a bit of how I ended up picking up Arma was I actually played this a long time ago when it originally came out. Like 8 years ago, I think now at this point, maybe even more. I don't know how old this game is, but it's old. I just dropped it for whatever reason. Wasn't really into it, not really my thing at the time. And then when I went to look and pick it up again, I looked at the amount of DLC that there was associated with this game, and there was a lot. And so I was like, no, I'm not paying that kind of money. And then perchance one day I saw a video on YouTube, ironically, of the game, or maybe on Twitch or something. I was like, whoa, this looks so cool. I went into the Steam store, everything 90% off. I picked it all up, and I can tell you, I have not turned back. The game is absolutely phenomenal. Like, there are no words to describe how good this game is. And so this is going to be the primary game going forward. And so what's actually going to consist of, primarily it's going to be multiplayer game mode overviews. The reason for that is that there are hundreds and hundreds of different multiplayer game modes in Arma. I've only touched the surface on them, and there's a few that I really enjoy playing, and there hasn't been any recent guides or overviews or, you know, what are they? And I had no idea of how many game modes there were, how to access multiplayer, what different kind of multiplayer game modes were when I picked up the game. And so I would just like to return the favour to people who are in a similar situation like me, who picked up the game on sale, don't really know much about it, and just want to hop straight in. So that's going to be what I'm going to do. And the second part of it will also be actual milsim operations. So long story short on this is I've joined a Australian based unit, which is basically a clan or a guild or whatever. It's just a team of people, and we run operations a couple of times a week. Super simple close quarter battle primarily, close quarter operations, and they're super fun. And I plan to stick with this kind of unit for a long time to come, and I'm going to be posting videos of basically what we're doing from my point of view, and the person who runs the unit also creates videos from his point of view. So that'll be really cool to watch someone who's really good at the game, and then me who's really shit at the game from our point of views. So that's kind of the plan there. And of course there's going to be montages, fails, funny clips, and all that good stuff along the way as well, which I'm really excited to share with you all. So yeah, bring it on. And yeah, Arma 3, there we go. To put it in perspective, I've got 800 hours in the game now, and I haven't even touched the surface. The guy who runs the unit I'm in has over 7,000 hours in the game, so it is just a beast, but it is phenomenal, and I'm going to try and make it accessible to people, or at least a little bit more accessible than what it is today, because Arma doesn't really hold your hand. It just kind of throws you into deep end and says, well, you're in a war zone now, have fun. So yeah, hopefully I can bring a bit of joy and comfort to people who pick up the game for the first time. So you'll see I've had some clips playing just in the background of this, just to kind of give you an idea of some of the content. It'll be pretty lighthearted. Some of it'll be fun, long distance sniping shots, some will be close quarter battles, all kinds of different things. And then I guess like that'll be my primary game. Most of my content will revolve around that, but not everything will revolve around it, okay? So I did pick up some other games recently that I've been really enjoying, actually, which is GTA 5. I'm never really a big fan of the Grand Theft Auto games. They just didn't really resonate with me, but I picked up GTA 5. Haven't played single player. Actually haven't touched the story of the game at all, but I've been playing some online. And then there's a mod you can add to it called 5M, which has like role-playing servers and stuff. It's very interesting. That's all I'll say about that. But there'll probably be some some of that content just for shits and giggles thrown in. And then finally, I picked up No Man's Sky after playing Elite Dangerous for quite some time when it went free on the Epic Game Store. And I just kind of heard that there's been a bit of a revitalization in the content in No Man's Sky, and they recently had a new update drop. I have no idea what the update is because I don't understand the game. I'm very, very new to it, like less than 30 hours in. But I'm going to throw some of that content in as well because it is so chill. That game is just like, it's like Zen. You come into that game after a hard day's work, you log in, you jump into your spaceship and you fly around, and it is just, yeah, it's fun. So that's it from me, guys. It's as you can tell, hopefully you can tell from this video, I am stoked to be producing content again, to have kind of a direction I want to take this channel. I may rebrand, I'm not sure, time will tell, but I've just been having a blast playing all these games, particularly Arma. I'm just so excited to bring content for that game. I have a load of content stored as well, so I'm hoping to bang out a lot of videos following the release of this video, because this video means nothing. It's not going to get a lot of traction or anything like that, but it certainly is just a starting point, and I'm hoping that for people who still enjoy the channel, that you enjoy it, and for people who pick it up for the first time, welcome, and please ask away. I answer every comment, I do whatever. And if you need an access point, any games, or if you have any ideas for what you'd like to see in the channel, shout. Sure, why not? I'll see what I can do. If it's fun, if it's something that I enjoy doing, and it's not a massive time sink or huge learning curve, sure, I'll pick it up and I'll enjoy it, and we can play it together. Thanks.